Let's go ahead and kick off Mainframe Comic-Con. Very excited to introduce our first guest of the entire telethon. You know him as Irvin Irving in the Amazon series Bosch. He plays the super cool hotel concierge Sharon in the movie franchise John Wick. He's appeared on Rick and Morty, The Blacklist, Lost, Fringe, The Wire, and one of my favorite HBO series of all time, the prison drama Oz. Guys, please help me in welcoming our first guest to Mainframe, the one, the only Mr. Lance Reddick. Lance, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Okay.
How you doing, Lance?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. You see, I'm dressed for the occasion. See, I got my.
You got. Oh, that is all. I was thinking Pink Floyd, and then you lean back a little bit. That's the coolest shirt I've ever seen. So, God, your career spans decades and decades, and to try to wrap it all up into a 30-minute interview would just be an exercise in futility. First up, what are you doing these days? How's your life treating you during this time of social quarantine and stay at home? Are you binge watching anything? You getting any work done?
I try to get some work done. Trying to work on projects that I'm trying to produce. Watching sometimes too much television. But I'm my wife and I try to be more systematic and focused about it. So we just got into Outcast on HBO. The Outcast on HBO. And so that's what we're watching currently. But, I've also been watching a lot of nostalgia from my youth. So believe it or not, I almost don't want to say this because half the crowd's not going to know what this is. But there was a TV series that was very popular in the 60s when I was a little kid called That Girl. It's very romantic and very dated. So we've been watching a lot of that. And we just want to watch something dumb. And also posting more on social media than I ever have. So that's good or bad, depending on how much you like me.
That's a good thing. Like, social media is going nuts. A lot of people are live streaming. People are connecting, ironically, more now. While we're not hanging out with each other, we're connecting more on social media.
Yeah.
Kind of noticed. So, I mean, God, like I said, we only have about a 30-minute panel. I want to dive into so many of your projects. Really, the two that I want to dive in and talk about are two that were very much in the spotlight lately. Your Amazon original series, Bosch.
Yeah. Okay.
And the upcoming film Godzilla versus Kong. We'll get into that.
That's gonna be a tough one because I can't really say anything about that.
I kind of figured. You got to try.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Bosch. It is now in its 6th season on Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the 6th season just dropped in April.
Yeah, well, I mean, the show, guys, if you haven't watched them, it's an LAPD homicide detective works to solve the murder of a 13-year-old boy while standing trial in federal court for a murder of a serial killer. You play Deputy Chief Irvin Irving. So maybe you could kind of give people a little bit of a backstory on the show and your character that you play on the show.
Well, the show was actually based on a series of novels written by Michael Connelly, and Michael Connelly is actually one of the executive producers, and he always writes a few episodes a year. He also writes a novel a year, so he's also constantly on tour with one of his books. But obviously, the name of the main character is Bosch, and so I think there are 19 Bosch novels, and each season is loosely, and I do mean loosely, based on generally one, maybe two, but generally it's two of the books. And so, how this came about was, back in 2013, I got a call about doing this. I got an offer to do this pilot, and at the time, I was like, I don't want to play more cops. No. So I kind of went ballistic. And then I went to call my agent, and I saw that there was a voicemail from her. So I saw that there was a voicemail. So for some reason, I decided to listen to the voicemail before I called my agent. And the voicemail actually happened to be from her. And what she said was, Lance, you're getting an offer. Don't freak out. I need to talk to you about it first. So the other thing was that I didn't realize, for some reason, the first time I looked at the email, I didn't realize that there was a personal note from Eric Overmyer, who is the showrunner, and who helped translate the series from the books onto the screen. And Eric and I know each other from my Wire days. He's well, first of all, Eric's a pretty famous playwright, but he came on as a producer and one of the head writers the 4th season of The Wire. And then he went on to continue work with David Simon on Treme. So he was a showrunner and one of the creators of Treme as well. So Eric is just somebody that I trust a great deal. And so the other thing that's interesting about it is that as popular as the Bosch books are, I didn't really know anything. I'd never heard of Michael Connelly or the Harry Bosch novels. So, actually speaking to Eric, I spoke to Michael, and basically what he said was, we need, a really great actor for this role. Would you consider playing this role? And at the time, it was supposed to be a recurring role. So, and I was also in the process of trying to create working on a comedy that I was trying to develop for myself. So I figured, well, I'll do this recurring thing while I'm working on my own show. And then the day that it was announced to the trades, in the following May, I got a call from my agency and they want to make you series regular first season. So it was a hard decision, but then I decided to do it, and it paid off because it's turned into a really fantastic show. And the character that I play is Chief Irvin Irving, who is now he's a chief of police. He's a deputy chief. The first couple of seasons.
I know there's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
I mean, in 6 whole seasons. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of where the show starts in season 1 and sort of where we're at now, without obviously spoilers, and you can't fill in all the gaps, but from season 1 to season 6, kind of what's been the journey of, say, your character?
Well, my character, season 1 starts, it's interesting talking about this now because given everything that's happening in the country right now, but the very first scene starts with Bosch shooting a suspect. And it's ironically, and I only say ironically once again, just because of everything that's happening. I show up at the scene of the shooting and I say, Jesus Christ, Bosch, another one.
Oh,
and like that's a cold open. Do you know what I mean? So he's shot suspects before. So the first season, in addition to dealing with the main storyline, which is a serial killer, and my character, it's really kind of establishing what the relationship with my character and Bosch is, which is he's a hardcore street detective and I'm a hardcore company man. And so we, I hate to be highfalutin, but it's kind of that Achilles Agamemnon kind of thing. And so, and you see that all throughout the series. And now in the second season, there's once again, this is tricky because I don't want to give too much of spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet, but basically, but it happens fairly quickly. There's one of my loved ones gets killed, and I decide to ask Bosch for help, and so our relationship changes dramatically in the second season, and then it becomes much more of a different kind of dance for the rest of the series.
Yeah, what's been your experience kind of working with Amazon versus, say, HBO, where you worked with The Wire and Oz? What's the general vibe working on over at Amazon versus a cable network?
I honestly, I didn't see much difference. I mean, I didn't really, because it's very interesting because I did see the difference when I moved from HBO to Fox, moving from cable to a network series. Fringe, yeah. So, but working on Amazon, I mean, it's not that different from working for HBO. I mean, they kind of let you do your show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Artistically, I feel like they give you a lot more leeway and they leave you alone more.
Okay. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, just a reminder to viewers, guys, Amazon Prime Video, Bosch, highly implore you guys check it out. Going into season 7, season 6 is already up.
Yeah, season 6 is up. So, I mean, once we're able to start shooting again, yeah, season 7. I mean, we were originally we were supposed to start shooting in August, and I just don't know yet if we're going to be back to the industry's going to be back to shooting.
Cool. Well, guys, definitely check it out. And just a reminder to everybody watching this interview and the entire Mainframe broadcast from home, you can leave comments and questions for Mr. Reddick. We're going to be answering your live questions probably about the last 10 minutes or so. So leave them in the comment section. We'll try our very damnedest to get him on the screen. You said earlier you can't say anything about Godzilla versus Kong. I completely understand. But let me just ask you a very vague, just the vaguest of questions.
I hope I can answer.
Is the world ready for this clash of titans that's been building up? Like obviously know a little bit about the movie because you're in the movie.
Yes.
Is the world ready for this massive thing? Is it how huge are we talking about, Lance?
Well, it's funny because I actually haven't seen the film yet, so I've only seen like a few clips of the film when I went in to do my ADR. So, But I mean, I guess the short answer is yeah. I mean, I think it's good. I mean, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if the planets align and the world goes back to some sense of normalcy, the movie is currently slated, I believe, for November. Where do you think Godzilla Kong's going to live in the pantheon of great holiday films? Is it up there with Die Hard and Home Alone and Godzilla vs. Kong?
Oh, well, I mean, you just picked. I mean, come on, you picked two legendary holiday films. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. So I'm gonna keep myself safe and say I don't know. But I especially given that I haven't seen it yet. But I will say that it's going to be an extraordinarily exciting and suspenseful. I don't want to say scary, but maybe some places suspenseful ride.
Cool.
And I'm really excited, especially given how the technology has advanced over the last 20 years. I mean, that's I mean, it ain't the 50s King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yo, without a doubt. Well, I see a comment section that popped up on the screen. It's about Oz. Perfect segue to my next question, guys. I want to roll the clock back just a little bit and discuss what is one of my fan favorite projects you've ever worked on. The role as Desmond Mobe in the HBO prison series Oz. People don't realize, you and I talked a little bit about this off camera, just how the enormous importance of a series like Oz. I mean, Oz paved the way for what HBO is today. This was before The Sopranos, before Game of Thrones. I mean, back then, like you and I were discussing, HBO was a place to watch boxing and stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And now it's a major blockbuster network. And you really can't understate the importance of Oz and kind of paving the way for that.
I mean, because clearly HBO changed television, and Oz put HBO on the map as its first really successful dramatic series, and it was also the first time you'd seen a hardcore, gritty R-rated television series.
Yeah.
And also, in terms of ethnicity, it was just so what's the word I'm looking for?
Diverse.
Thank you.
Full frontal.
No. Well, there was some of that too, but diverse was the word I was looking for.
I want to jump back to the question I just saw that was Harry. We'll get back to your question, but I believe it was BA in the house asked a question about the set for Emerald City.
Oh yeah.
Can you kind of describe working on that style of set versus because I mean was it really just one big set you guys were working on? Did they build an city?
It was one big set, and the where the cells were in Emerald City, kind of you could walk around, and then it was first of all it was all on one floor on a building. I can't remember which building it was, but down in the Chelsea district of Manhattan, around 14th Street and 9th, 10th, 11th Avenue, and it was there for the first 6 seasons. Yeah. And I don't know for the first 5 seasons. I don't know the people who watched the show, but I believe there was an explosion, and at the end of season 5 is a cliffhanger.
Yep.
And I found out later that the explosion happened because they lost the lease and they couldn't renegotiate, so they had to move. So explain.
That's the coolest thing I've heard on Mainframe.
Yeah, so to explain that, Tom just created an explosion, and they had to change buildings.
That's hilarious. Well, guys, any of you guys watching, if you younger people who haven't watched Oz, it's a great thing to binge watch if you're stuck at home right now.
And also, the other thing I just want to say is, I mean, who'd ever thought that, at least at that time, that an R-rated soap opera set in a prison, a men's prison, would be a huge hit? I mean, who?
Yeah.
Well, it was what it is.
If nothing else, it was a wonderful scared straight thing for anybody who might be walking on the wrong side of the road in their lives, because nobody wants to go to Oz. That was a scary place.
No.
Well, we definitely want to get to some of the viewer questions. Harry Hurley asks, Lance, will you be doing any more voice acting for video games like you did in Destiny 2 for the character Zavala?
Well, as some of you may be aware, I posted on social media, I just finished doing some stuff on Destiny. So for the next iteration of Destiny, I think it's okay for me to say, oh shoot, I don't know if it's okay for me to say. shoot.
Uh-oh. You say it.
Okay. There's a possibility. Once again, I should know this. That there's a second iteration of Horizon Zero 2 coming. And then I may be doing this third one I actually can't talk about. Yeah. So that's a long way of saying yes.
Okay, well, there you go, Harry. Chris, we're going to get to your question in just a second, but before we run out of time, we can't not talk about John Wick. John Wick 3, man, you got to kick some serious butt. Your character, Sharon, got to come out from behind the desk and rock the shotgun. What was it like shooting that scene in John Wick 3?
Well, actually, it's funny because actually training for this scene was more fun than shooting it, only because it was just one of those things where what could go wrong did go wrong. So, first of all of my action stuff in terms of location was tied to Keanu's action stuff. So they would shoot his stuff first because his stuff is so much more involved. So, I would sit around for 8 hours and then we're not going to get you to today. Then I'd sit around the next day for 8 hours and then, I'd come in and shoot my stuff with the time we had left. And so in that particular sequence, it was actually originally supposed to be twice as long as it ended up being in the film, but we ran out of time, and then we were going to get back to it, and then we never did. And the other thing was because there was so much of me like putting my shotgun in guys' chests and shooting them, they were using a plugged shotgun. The problem is that when you use a plugged shotgun like that, it tends to misfire a lot. So after like a couple of times through, it was just constantly misfiring. So reached the point where I was having to shoot it and kind of act the kick, and then they had to put, and even the shells ejecting, they had to like put that stuff in post.
Okay, well, we'll fix it later.
So quite frankly, because Chad is such a, I hate using this term, but it's true, because Chad is just such a freaking genius, the director. And we have our editor was absolutely brilliant. I mean, he's one of those guys where I just hope I get when I'm producing my own films that I can get him on every film. But so between Chad's direction and the editing, it still came out great.
It really did. One other thing, I mean, well, Joshua, I hope that answers your question. I see your comment on the screen there. I hope that answers your question. Last year, reports came out about a spinoff series, The Continental. Put this in the category of things you probably can't talk much about. But is the Continental, anything you can tell us about the Continental series? Has any production begun?
That's easy for that I don't have a problem talking about because I don't know anything.
Oh, darn it. Well, it was announced last year that like it was a go. Has any pre-production?
Well, actually, let me put it this way.
Let me have it.
So I can't actually tell you about anything that's going to kind of what the content will be. I'm not even 100% sure how much I'm going to be in it because I haven't actually been approached officially. But here's the funny thing about it. So when we were shooting John Wick 3, my wife was visiting set one night, and she overheard a couple of background actors talking about this series, The Continental. And one would say, "Well, I've got a great recurring role on the new series, The Continental, and Lance Reddick's going to be in it." So my wife comes up to me and she says, "Lance,
hey, do you know you're going to be in it?"
I'm like, it's a couple of background just trying to bullshit each other. But there was part of me that was like, well, let me go talk. He just asked Chad. So I walked up to Chad because I wasn't in the sequence that they were shooting in that moment. So I walked up to him and while they were doing a new setup, I said, Chad, I know this is probably bullshit, but my wife heard a couple of background talking about that there's a series going to be based on the Continental, and I'm supposed to be in it. Is there any truth to that? He says, well, yeah, I mean, there was a bidding war and Stars bought it. And so, we're still trying to figure it out. But once everything was set, we were going to come to you. I was like, oh, okay. So, but then we shot John Wick 3 2 years ago. So, all I've ever heard since then have been rumors until I saw an announcement with an interview with Chad in I think it was Deadline, or it was either Deadline or The Wrap, maybe a month and a half ago, and it mentioned me briefly that they were going to possibly have me and Ian's character in. So,
I mean, how do you do the Continental without Sharon. I mean, it's like doing an indoor movie without Ewoks.
Well. No, yeah, but here's the thing, because I don't know. They were talking about doing a kind of a prequel, so kind of, the Continental. This is just one of the ideas that I've heard floating. Maybe the Continental each season in different decades or something like that. So I don't know.
We got another question in the comment section from Junk Box writes, what's been your favorite project you've worked on?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, I've been really lucky. I've had some stuff I really
You
love.
got a ton. Your IMDb is like crazy
but
long.
it's not even so much that I've worked on a lot of stuff, but I've been really fortunate. I've worked on really cool stuff. Like John Wick, The Wire, Bosch. I never thought that would turn into what it's turned into. I absolutely adore working on corporate. That's been one of my favorite experiences in my entire career, from soup to nuts. So from top to bottom, the writing, the directing, the cast, it's just a big family, and it's so well done. In my opinion, still in terms of the industry, so underappreciated. We just finished shooting our third season. It's a wonderful comedy on Comedy Central that's about living in corporate America. It's very political.
So where are we at on John Wick 4, let's say? Have we begun production on John Wick 4?
Not production. I heard it's so funny because I was back in January, in the beginning of February, I was shooting a film in New Orleans, and the stunt coordinator was actually he works with Chad Stahelski, and he said Chad says to say hi. And I said, he also said, Chad's writing it. He's writing John Wick 4 right now. I'm thinking, oh, okay, good. So I have a feeling that they were probably going to try to shoot it this year, this summer, but that's probably not, I don't see that happening. So it'll probably be shot next summer, and then it'll probably come out in 2022, because I think I already saw something in the trades that said the release date's been pushed to 2022 now.
Well, I definitely want to talk a little bit about The Wire. This just so happened to come in the comment section from Gore Vidal. It says, Mr. Reddick, your work on The Wire was brilliant. Daniels was my favorite character in the series. He was what was this? It's so far for me to read. He was a moral compass of this series. You want to talk about The Wire a little bit? Because honestly, I mean, that's a show that to this day is getting a new fan base. Everybody talks about it. It's constantly getting new fans. Talk a little bit about your experience on The Wire.
The Wire was wow, I don't even know where to start with The Wire, because that changed my career, but it also it was one of the most fulfilling and at the same time frustrating experiences I've ever had. Because, and also, we had no idea that it was going to turn into the cultural phenomenon that it turned into in the 10 years after, over the next 10 years after it was over. So it's one of those things where, first of all, when I read the pilot, it's the only pilot script I've ever read in my entire career that I thought, when I read this pilot, I was like, I have to be on the show. This reads like the first chapter of a novel. This is the best pilot I've ever read. And I didn't even know what character I wanted to be, because there were so many characters. The only character that was clearly prominent was McNulty. So, and then when I auditioned for the show, originally they brought me for Buck, and I read for Buck 3 times. And then I read for Bubbles, and I was second choice for Bubbles. And then they brought me in they finally agreed to see me for Daniels, because they actually didn't want to see me for Daniels at first, because they were looking for big names for that role. Mm-hmm. So so then I read for Daniels, and then I ended up getting it. And then it was one of those things where it was just we came in just as HBO was completely changing the face of television. So, our first season, we were the lead into The Sopranos for their second season. And over the course of the show, it just got as phenomenal as it was. It just kept getting better and better and better. And it felt like, in terms of kind of our industry recognition, we kept getting ignored more and more and more. Like we almost got canceled twice. And then as we were wrapping up the last season, suddenly everybody in Hollywood was talking about it. I mean, I remember I was on a call with Amy Ryan about something else, and she was actually in the middle of doing. She was actually in the middle. Oh, I know what it was, because I'd just been cast in Fringe, and I was about to start shooting the pilot. So this is around February. This is around January of 2008, and Amy was in the middle of doing press because she had just been nominated for an Oscar for her role in Gone Baby Gone, and she said, Lance, I got to tell you, I'm doing all these meetings in Hollywood for the Oscars, and people don't want to talk to me about the movie. They want to ask me what it was like to work on The Wire. So yeah.
And that popularity lives on to this day. I mean, it's getting a new fan base. Nate, I am going to get to your question, but my wife would kill me if I didn't just ask a couple of things about Fringe, only because we actually named our cat Walter Bishop. We are such huge fan. We actually have John Noble. He's on tomorrow at the same time. So
love me some John Noble. Love me some John Noble.
Oh yeah, so do I.
He's a great guy, great actor.
Ever any chance, well, maybe not of a series reboot, but do you guys keep in touch with the original cast? Any chance of ever getting together at fan conventions or anything like that?
I mean, it's funny because I was shooting a movie, I think 3 years ago. It was actually a film that I did with Tessa Thompson and in Austin, and John was living there at the time. He had just moved there because his daughter was there, and he wanted to spend more time with his daughter and his grandkids. So we went out to dinner, and that was great. And I've seen Anna maybe once in the last 5 years. After she moved back to the States, we actually went to a housewarming party at her house. But the only person that I keep in touch with any regularity is Jessica Nicole Pruitt. And she's actually become one of my best friends. She and her wife, they're very close friends of ours.
It's awesome. Well, guys, if you haven't watched Fringe, I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the Fox Go or something and check it out because it's one of the best and beloved fan favorite shows, right up there, with the X-Files. Nate, I'm going to close out with your question, man. He writes, Horizon Zero Dawn has such a huge scale and is ambitious as hell. Can you talk about it at all?
Oh my gosh.
So many things you can't talk about.
No. It's not that. I'm just extraordinarily embarrassed because I haven't played the game.
Oh.
and especially a game that's so it's not as a player, it's not my type of game because it takes I hate to say this, it takes so much kind of intellectual patience. And my attention span just isn't that long.
Well, there you go, Nate. That answers your question. Lance, we can't thank you enough for coming here on Mainframe Comic-Con, taking some time out of your day and giving us all the details, man. Thanks a lot for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys, check out Bosch on Amazon Prime Video. Seasons 1 through 6, guys. We got so much more Mainframe coming to you. This is just the start. We're just cracking the surface. So we're going to be, right after this commercial break, we are going to be joined by Perry Nemiroff and the cast from Ash vs. Evil Dead. So stick around for that in just about 2 minutes. See you here in a little bit.